Hello and welcome to this Jane's Weather Update. It is Friday the 21st of March. We've had a lot of rain moving across parts of the southeast and that is moving northwards. We've got a lot of rain happening in the north as well, but conditions are starting to ease for northern parts of Queensland. Let's zoom into the southeast and have a look at these numbers here. So the big falls were definitely in the eastern parts of Victoria, the southeastern parts of New South Wales, but that is pushing northwards. Now what we're showing here is rain to 9 a.m. the 24-hour totals. So now it is 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Let's go with the rainfalls since 9 a.m. and you can see just how much that is delivering as that band of rain moves northwards with a little bit in behind it. All right, heading back to that one, so 24-hour totals. We've had some 75, 74s. We've had some 35 to 40 through these parts here. So some really decent falls came out of that one. Why? Let's zoom back out again and we'll have a look at all of this moisture that is here across the northern parts of the country. That was fed down into the southeast, high pressure system out over the Tasman Sea. So it picks up that moisture and moves it down into the southeast. Low pressure then turns that into rain, but you only get that rain if you're on the right side of that low. On the right side of that low, I mean in the eastern parts of the country, it's the eastern side. So trough and cold front came on through. You'll notice those totals over the southwest were very light indeed, so it was just a bit of rain that came in with that one, but Swan Hill 24, 21 up in through here, some in through these parts of Tasmania too, but South Australia generally missed out unless you're well inland. So it's that moisture connecting with low pressure, but you had to be on the eastern side of it when that connection was actually made to get the good falls out of that one. All right, that's where we are now. Let's have a look at what the current warnings are. So just a bit of a preview of the product that is coming to you hopefully soon. It's been a lot of fun to play with for me. In terms of heat wave, we don't have any legends here yet. That's coming soon, but I'll walk you through it. Heat wave today is only over in the far west of the country. It's not down in Perth. It's not down in the southwest. In terms of flood watches and warnings, we have these up through here. Otherwise, at the moment, I have got up here fire weather warning. There's none of those current. We've got severe weather warning. There's none of those. Thunderstorm, nothing happening at this stage. That is enough to trigger a warning. And there's no cyclones in the area. We do have our cyclone that was out through here that isn't operational anymore. All right, so there's not much that is a concern today. Even marine warnings, there's none of those. All right, that's where we are. Let's have a look at where we're heading from here. So over the next week, this is the potential rainfall. It comes from our AI forecast, which is the blend of all of those different global weather models. It goes, oh, this one has been performing well. We'll put more emphasis on that. This one hasn't been performing as well. Less emphasis on that. So a lot of rain happening for the northern parts of the country. I'll explain why shortly when we get to our MJO. But look at it coming into the south. There is limited connection from here onwards. Now, these falls here is what has generally already fallen this morning, and that has now cleared. Whereas look at the big gap we've got across the southern parts here. This means that we've got a lot of tropical moisture to the north, but it's not connecting with low pressure down to the south. Without that connection, we can't get those rainfalls. All right. We do have this into southeast Queensland, so still on a fair bit of a break. This is later next week and into the coastline here as well. Let's jump through that day by day. So here we have the pressure contours that are over the top. Here we have high pressure that is sitting over the bight. If you're wanting rain and you're in southern Australia, that high pressure system is not doing good things for you. It needs to move out of the way before we can get that connection between low pressure and all of that moisture that is up over the north. All right, so here we have that high right across the south there. These falls here, they are clearing. We saw it's already up through those parts of New South Wales in through here. So that is a clearing trend today, but here we have lots of activity and there is that connection down into the south. Let's move into Saturday. You'll see just how dry it is thanks to this high. So there's nothing left in through here. All of that moisture in the north, it's trying to come down, but high pressure is blocking it from reaching the very far south. So it's teasing. There's clouds here. There's rain falling over the interior, but it's not making it all the way through to the coast. So there is Saturday. So we've got high pressure sitting in through here. That leads to warmer weather coming into the southwest, but let's move into Sunday. Here is that activity. It's blocked into the south because of the high pressure that ridges through here, but it is making its way into southeast Queensland and northeast New South Wales over the interior, teasing the south, not actually making it here. Heading into Monday. There we go. Still got that up in through there into southeast Queensland and southern parts of Queensland. Again, high pressure. With the high sitting here, we're getting all of the heat that is moving over into the southwest. Heading into Tuesday, very similar pattern, high pressure in the south. You get used to hearing me say high pressure in the south. There is Wednesday, there is Thursday, and there is Friday. Perhaps a little bit of activity coming in through here. Have a look now. That high pressure is moving into a bit of a jelly bean shape. Jelly bean shapes are very interesting because you end up with a trough that is down the middle of that. If you are to the eastern side of that trough line, you've got all of that moisture from the north being able to funnel down into here, and it's got low pressure there to turn that into wet weather. Now, it's not guaranteed. It's not necessarily widespread soaking rain for everyone, but it is hit and miss shower and storm activity that can be to the eastern side of that trough line. So that's something to look out for at the end of next week. That's a full week away. All right, so what does that mean in terms of overall for the next week? We're looking starting on Monday the 24th, and we're looking at wet versus dry. And that's very clear in terms of the pattern I just talked about. Heaps of wet weather over the north of the country. We've got hardly any wet weather over the south of the country. So all of this is looking like these brown tones, the dry tones. There's a little bit in through here, and that might be a system that comes in at the very end of next week and over the weekend. So let's just go back to this one here. So I've got our trough line there. We're going to go into Saturday, Sunday, there it is, and Sunday's the last. That's as far as we go, so that's the 10 days. So there might be something that comes down into that. So again, a connection to tropical moisture and an actual low pressure system there that has broken through that high pressure. Meanwhile, over in the southeast, there might be something in there next weekend as well. But again, it's a full week away. All right, so here we have that suggestion of moisture coming into the southwest, but that's not until the very end of the week. Otherwise, this is a very dry outlook for all of these areas, unless you're right on the eastern coastline and you've got all of that wet weather across the top coming down to the interior as well. What does that mean for heat? Yes, it does mean heat. We saw that high pressure was generally sitting around here. So that means that the hotter conditions are on the western side of that high. And so that is over in the southwest of the country that gets the heat. We'll go through day by day shortly and you can see what I'm meaning by that. By the end of it, we're going to start to see some of this warmth coming into the southeast as well as that high pressure moves back out to the east. But generally, it is a mild trend for the next week if you're in southeastern Australia. We expect all of these blues over the top because there's cloud and there's rain, so it is cooler than average. That is week one, which begins the 24th of March. Let's have a look at week two. So this begins on the 31st of March. This is our first week of April. The rainfall is looking a little bit different here. We still have all of this across the top. So we've got our moisture that is sitting there ready to go. If you're in the south, you're looking for that connection. You're looking for the high pressure to move out of the way, or at least let those low pressure systems come in and do something with all of that moisture. So we saw it starting to come into here. Maybe that can actually move across the south. There's some sort of connection coming in through here. So in week two, there is a chance of rain making it down through much of the south. Something to keep an eye on. No specifics just yet, but something on the horizon that is something to watch. What does that mean in terms of temperature? Here is our heat again. We expect all of that cool. There's maybe a gap in through here, but the heat does move in. So maybe high pressure is out to the east. All of that southeastern area in South Australia can have those warmer than average conditions. But if the rain comes through, then that will start to shake things up. Okay, what is causing all of this over the north at the moment is our MJO, Madden-Julian oscillation, weird name, weird graph. What is it? It's a pulse of energy that travels around the tropics. When it's in the green zone, it's visiting Australia. If we want rain, we really like this because it enhances that connection to that tropical moisture. Here it is now. It's staying here for a little while. It goes into no man's land is a nice way to say. So there's no push either way. It doesn't suppress it. It doesn't enhance it. So yes, we can get some wet weather with that. If it goes broadly out in through here, this is our break that we had. Apart from the cyclone, they do things on their own. But generally, Northern Australia took a bit of a break while it was out through here. Now it is back. Where we're heading from here, no man's zone, it's not strong, so it's not enhanced or suppressed, and then pretty much continuing just in that not enhanced and not suppressed. So that's why we can see the rainfalls over through these parts, which is actually this map here. All right, so there's our Madden-Julian oscillation, MJO. Let's move on to SAM. If you are in the south and you want rain, this is an interesting map for you because when this is sitting up through here, First of all, this is not going to tell you if it is going to rain or not, because it's an overall driver of our climate, and so it kind of describes what the highs and lows are likely to do. When it is up here, so it is in the green area that is positive, that means high pressure is likely to be quite strong. If you're in southern Australia and that high pressure is sitting there, then it is blocking those weather systems from coming to you. You can have all the moisture in the world. The MJO can be as strong as you like. The oceans are pouring it in. If you've got high pressure sitting there, it is not going to impact you in terms of wet weather. However, if the high moves, perhaps it does that cradling jelly bean shaped high, then we can get that low pressure to nestle itself in amongst that high pressure and turn that moisture into wet weather. It only depends if it actually does that sort of shape, and this doesn't tell us if it's going to do that. It doesn't say, let's go the other side. When we're looking at strong fronts, when it's down in the negatives here, it doesn't say that the strong front is going to peak through the southeast or whether it's going to peak through the southwest. It just means that they're more likely to peak somewhere. So this is something that doesn't tell you exactly what's going to happen at your place. It tells you more about the pattern across Australia and the potential for what those pressure systems are going to do. So strong fronts, if you're in the south, that is a really, really good way to pick up wet weather, because generally through winter, you know about it. Say you're in Warrnambool in Victoria, or you're in Adelaide in South Australia. You know it. When the strong front comes up, you get wet weather with that. A couple of days later, we get another one, more wet weather with that. If you've got this sitting in positive, you're more likely to get high pressure through there and not see those fronts, and so you're not going to see the rain. Instead, further north, we've got our high sitting there. This enables those low pressure systems to be stronger and also be cradled by those highs. So if you're in the path, then it works for you. This is positive at the moment, which means the fronts that are coming through, they didn't have much of an impact. Think about those rainfall totals. Having a look in the southwest, nothing in through here. I mean, very small numbers in through here. The big falls were here because they were connected to that low pressure. In here, where I have my SAM, this is southern annual mode, now they're positive, it's that same sort of thing. What I'm saying here is, unless that goes properly negative, we're going to struggle to get wet weather into those southern parts of the country, because the high pressure is going to be sitting there and it's going to be blocking rain, no matter how much rain we've got access to. This is not a great outlook. All right, moving on to sea surface temperature anomaly. Anomaly meaning how much warmer or cooler than average it is. Here, having a look around Australia, it is all hot. It is all warmer than average. That means that we've got extra moisture to play with. Extra moisture, that's one part of that wet weather equation. The low pressure is the other part. You have all the moisture in the world, but if you don't have the low pressure, it's not going to do anything for you, unfortunately. Here we do have all of that red around the country. These little blue bits in through here just off Queensland, that's the remnants of the cyclone. So it cools the ocean just underneath it while it's on top. They're likely to go back red again, just like the rest of that area. However, these blues out through here, so further off the Queensland coast, that is perhaps something to have a look at. The blue that is spilling out of this Pacific Ocean box, that is something to have a look at. The blues that were in through here that were really strong over the past couple of months that are now weakening, and the orange that is starting to come into this box, coming in from the eastern side there, that shows us that the Pacific Ocean is starting to undergo change. The last time we went into El Nino, which is where this box out here goes red, and traditionally the waters off Queensland and Indonesia, they go blue. We miss that blue part here because all across the ocean now everything is warmer than average, so we're not getting as much of an imbalance. So this is a harder one. Now when we have El Nino, it doesn't mean that that tap is turned off. It's just that we might have another source of moisture to take its place. So this is showing us that we're still having a lot of moisture available to Australia from the east. And this Tasman Sea, which is incredibly warmer than average, that is a big source of moisture that can offset the effects, the drying effects, if we go into El Nino. So let's have a look at what the forecast is there. We've come out of La Nina, which encourages that wet weather to come to us. It means that it's blue out there, red off the coast of us, encouraging the moisture to come here. Now we are going properly out of that, and this is suggesting that we're heading this way. It doesn't have it crossing that yet, as far as we can see out, which is out to August. But there is signs that that is happening, and you can see it now in the ocean here. So this coming in, this getting weaker, this starting to spill out, which is an interesting thing, but still having all of that warm water of Queensland means it isn't affecting us yet. All right, so there's that one. That's something to keep an eye on. It is one part of the puzzle. It is one driver that we need to take note of, but noting that we still have access to moisture ourselves. All right, having a look at the Indian Ocean, that box now is all yellow. All of this is yellow. We're starting to see some blues come in. We had some blues come in. They disappeared. Now they're starting to come back. So this also is an ocean that seems to be in a little bit of motion. That's why, of course, the ocean is in motion, but the big picture things are changing. So what we're looking for in order to get moisture pouring in from the northwest, those juicy northwest cloud bands that come down and deliver wet weather to the south when the high pressure moves out of the way, we need this box out here to be blue, and we want all of this here to be red. That's not the case. So we do have some yellows and oranges in there. However, we've got so much warmth off the coast of the northwest that we've got our own source of moisture no matter what the Indian Ocean does. However, the Indian Ocean forecasts are interesting. So here we're expecting to go quite positive because of what we just saw happening out through there. So all of this is orange, orangey yellow as warm colors. And here we're starting to see a little bit of blue. So that is starting to be an imbalance. And there it is, just going north of that zero line on our Indian Ocean index. But look at the forecast and how it is tumbling as we go through not autumn, but perhaps these parts of winter, perhaps actually crossing that line. So that is something to be keeping an eye on. What we're seeing happening in the Indian Ocean at the moment could change as we go not in autumn, but yes, into winter. That encourages those big cloud bands to come down from the northwest. This is a great sign if you're looking for rain in southern Australia. However, this here is not a great sign. That one gives us the moisture. Tick that box. That's going to be amazing. Moisture for days. But in terms of actually getting it down into the southern parts of the country, that may be harder if we're still in a positive southern annular mode. That's the one that I want you to keep an eye on this year, because that is going to tell us our fortune as to where the high pressure systems are sitting. Are they blocking it or not? Or are they cradling it and helping it to happen as well? This map doesn't tell you, the weather pattern does. All right. That's all of those. So I think the message to note there is Pacific Ocean likely to move into the opposite direction and push the moisture away from Australia. However, we've got an incredibly warm Tasman Sea, so we have our own moisture source. And all of that water around Australia is warmer than average. We have our own moisture source to offset the drying effects of that. The Indian Ocean may get its skates on and move around and start pushing that moisture towards us. But again, we've already got that source out there. It's already incredibly warmer than average. So the moisture is here and it's likely to stay here. It's just whether we can actually turn that into wet weather in southern Australia if those highs move out of the way. And that's the big question. All right, let's whip around the country. We will start in Brisbane. Here we go. We've just got some showers moving through today. It's in the high 20s or 30. They don't add up to much. Into tomorrow, might get a little bit more energy in that, so it might turn into a thunderstorm, but again, not huge falls. I'll go straight down here. We're not looking at big falls until potentially next Wednesday. Now, the model that is standing out here very, very clearly is the USA model. So that's the purple one there. That is the one that likes these heavier falls. But there are others that are sort of on board there. So there is likely to be something coming Wednesday, Thursday next week. And really, it's one model that continues it into Friday. So watch that space if you're in that area. Heading into Sydney today, showers and thunderstorms. We saw that big band of them moving through New South Wales. That is likely to at least glance Sydney as it moves through during the afternoon into the evening. So a bit of activity there. Heading to Saturday, not much happening. Sunday, not much happening. Bit showery in the morning. It's not overly warm. That pattern continues. And then later on, Thursday next week, more models are liking that. So that's pretty much all four that have that there. And this is next Thursday. So next Thursday, yes, we're looking at onshore winds. They're southeasterly. It's on the cool side. I'd say lots of showery activity moving through that can add up. Moving into Friday, continuing that, but it is mainly that USA model that likes that at this stage. All right, heading into Melbourne, the last of the rain is moving through now. Here I am on Friday. So this now is just very drizzly, very, very, very light, very, very tiny droplets that, barely wet the ground. So they don't really add up in the rain gauge either. The cloud, though, is likely to continue as we move into the afternoon, breaking up a little bit later. Heading into Saturday and Sunday, I'll show both of these here at the same time. We have got a lot of sunshine over the weekend. Conditions are mild. It is March, marvellous Melbourne, and that is pretty much exactly what we've got here. We've got high pressure in the area, and it is just making it so that it's not too hot, it's not too cold. It's whatever that porridge story is. Great. So that continues into early next week, 22s, 24s, 22 Wednesday, slight little system coming up from the south. Again, not going to produce much wet weather. The outlook here is incredibly dry. We've got high pressure in the area. It's not likely to produce any heat until the end of next week and next weekend. It might produce a little bit of wet weather there if that cradling happens, and we're actually in that zone for those showers and storms with the trough that gets cradled. All right, having a look at Adelaide. If you're after wet weather, we don't have a lot here. So mild, warming up a little bit. There's no wet weather at all on the outlook. There's plenty of sunshine, just some cloud from that rain moving over the interior just coming through. So that's high cloud. It doesn't really disturb anyone. And there's not a lot to say about Adelaide. High pressure is in the area. It is blocking anything interesting from coming to this part of the world. Heading into Perth, this is where we have 29, 32, 33 as we go across the Friday and the weekend. Then next week, have a look at this. We've got 40s. We're in the high 30s all the way through, even next Friday, Saturday, and then we might get that hint of wet weather coming in at the very end of the period there. But that's where the main focus of heat is going to be next week, because high pressure is sitting over the southeast, blocking the rainfall, and that means that the warmth is moving out over into the southwest of the country. That's the heat, and then a little bit of warmth can come across to the rest as the week progresses on. All right, that's the update for today. Hopefully that helped you. Now, it's not going to help you plan what you're going to do this year, but hopefully it gives you an idea of what we're going to be dealing with. Moisture, yes, that bucket is ticked. That box is ticked. Well, it's a bucket, really. It's a bucket of moisture. In terms of low pressure, being able to affect your area, that's the big question, and SAM might be the thing to keep an eye on. I'll see you next week. Bye.